Welcome to another episode of Relatively Famous, the podcast where I, Chip White, interview relatives of famous people. My famous relative, Vanna White of Wheel of Fortune. She's my sister, hence the podcast. Today, I have the wife of probably the most important inventor that you don't know. I have Lorena Monroe, wife of David Monroe, inventor of the cell phone camera. Now, I want to thank visitmyrtlebeach.com for sponsoring the podcast. If you're looking for the perfect family vacation, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com. 60 miles of beach, 2,000 restaurants, 90 golf courses, and it's very family friendly. If you have an autistic or sensory sensitive child, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com and look at their website for the TV show Traveling the Spectrum on Peacock and learn more about why Myrtle Beach is so special for people with families of autistic kids and sensory sensitive children. Let's go to visitmyrtlebeach.com.
Relatively Famous Podcast with Chip White.
Lorena, welcome to Relatively Famous. We're so excited you're here today.
I am so excited to be right here with you, Mr. Chip. So I have heard so many wonderful things about you, and I just want to thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. I think this is a great opportunity for me to get you lots of questions, as well as you can ask me anything you would like to know about Lorena Monroe.
I will ask you about Lorena. I do want people to know a little bit about David, because it's not about David, but people need to know. What are some of the things that, especially in the tech world, because he's not an everyday name, right? What are some of the things about David that are special, that he's invented? And then we're going to find out about you.
Well, David Monroe is a gentleman that today he keeps on inventing. Every day of his life, he invents something. And the beauty about Mr. Monroe is that he is the kind of gentleman that is always inventing to make the world better. As everyone knows, David Monroe has over 50 patents that sit in today's government, and he has been involved for many, many, many years with government work. And today, we are proud to say that he is the founder, and I am the co-founder of our beautiful museum, SAMSAT San Antonio, our Museum of Science and Technology. So what is it that David Monroe does best? Is he keeps on giving to the world by making a difference through tech and education.
There you go. Okay. Now, David has a lovely wife, but there's more to it than beauty. Tell me about you.
Well, I obviously met my husband because he was looking for a hot Latina that could speak Spanish. At the time when I met Mr. Monroe, I was introduced by him by Mr. Armando Barbosa, the owner of Vision Mortgage right here in San Antonio, Texas. I was doing his PR, public relations, for his company. And, he went ahead and introduced me to Mr. David Monroe. And the first question that David Monroe asked me when he looked at me from head to toes, he says, "Do you speak Spanish?" And I said, "Claro que sí, soy mexicana y hablo un perfecto español." And I said, "¿Por qué, Señor Monroe?" And he says, "Oh, well," he got a little nervous, and he said, "I am looking for somebody that can speak Spanish because we are doing the undercover security for the president of Guatemala." And that's how I came into his life. So next thing you know, he invited us into his office, and he asked me for my driver's license, and within 30 seconds, my whole life was all over the room. So I was like, it got me a little scared for a little bit.
Suddenly you're a spy.
Yeah, because it was like, okay, who am I dealing with here? And of course, he ran my credit card because, he needed to do a background check on me before he could even allowed to even continue a conversation with me about what he was trying to do. And of course, I was cleared. And, he said, "Okay, well, can you be here this next Thursday? Because we have some people flying in from Guatemala, and can you translate for us?" And I said, "Absolutely." So that's how I came on board back in the days, and his company was eWatch Corporation.
Okay. Now, where are you? You're not from San Antonio originally, or are you?
No, I was born in Puebla, Mexico. I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska. So I got to tell you, Mr. Chip, I am a Latin Eskimo. And of course, I moved to San Antonio almost 40 years ago, and I've been here in San Antonio since 40 years ago, and I love San Antonio. San Antonio is my home, even though I love to travel the world. There's nothing like San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, I'm enjoying San Antonio. What was life like for you when you first moved to San Antonio?
It was hot, muy caliente. Caliente,
Alaska?
caliente,
Yeah.
caliente. Because Anchorage, Alaska is absolutely beautiful, but it is very cold. We have 9 months of winter and 3 months of fall. So you really don't have a true summer like we do here. So when I first moved to San Antonio, it was very caliente, muy caliente.
Yeah.
But
Nine months of summer here and 3 months of
Exactly,
summer. So
exactly.
it's 12 months of summer.
But I want you to know that I moved to San Antonio because my sister, Felicia, was married to a gentleman that joined the Air Force, and they got transferred to Lackland Air Force from Anchorage, Alaska. So my sister begged me to come here and visit her. I came, I visited, fell in love with San Antonio, and never went back to Alaska except I go and visit once in a while.
Okay. You moved to San Antonio. It's different. Your sister's here. What direction did you go? I mean, you obviously are very talented. I've read your resume. I've seen your acting stuff. So what direction did you go, and how do you keep evolving?
Mr. White, I just want you to know that I showed up here in San Antonio, Texas 40 years ago, and I drove up with a beautiful Bronco. I love big, big trucks. As a matter of fact, one of my first gifts from Mr. David Monroe was a beautiful Hummer, which I don't sell it, and everybody wants to buy it, but it's not for sale because it was a gift from Mr. Monroe. And when I showed up here 40 years ago, I want you to know that I showed up with lots of beautiful clothing. It was all rolled up in bundles, and my whole entire Bronco was full of clothing. And I went ahead and I had my sister rented an apartment for me right next door at Lackland Air Force Base. And my sister saw me drive up and she says, "Sister, what are you going to do with all of that clothing?" And I said, "Darling, we're going to start a business." And she says, "Well, how are you going to start a business in San Antonio when you don't know anyone?" And I said, "Don't you worry. God is so precious that he's going to open every door for me." And I started my first business in San Antonio, door-to-door knocking 40 years ago and selling my little fashion dresses. And I would tell the ladies, "Would you like to get a free dress from Bonita?" And of course, everybody wants a free dress. And that's how I started my very first business here in San Antonio with Bonita Natural. So I just want you to know that I'm very grateful to all the beautiful women in the Air Force, at Lackland Air Force, because they're the ones that supported my business that has been around for many, many years. And of course, I was here in San Antonio with big dreams. And I just want you to know, Mr. Chip, that San Antonio, Texas has grown into my heart and has given me everything I have ever wanted here in San Antonio, including my very first husband, Dr. Clay Suggs, fabulous husband, fabulous father, because I do have 2 beautiful boys.
Okay.
And maybe he was not that perfect of a husband because he decided to trade me in for a younger model.
His loss.
Shame on him.
Exactly.
But he's a fabulous father, and today he is my best friend. Because you know what? We had 2 beautiful boys together, and I've learned that in life, you have to be a great loser to be a great winner, and you got to know how to be a loser in order to accept when you win. And today, for the rest of my life, I'm a winner, and it's so wonderful to just let all the beautiful women out there that if you ever get traded in, don't you worry, darling. There's always something better if you believe in yourself.
Great advice.
So I got to tell you that, after the clothing business, I got offered a concession at Bally's Health Club, and it was selling smoothies. So I had my first little restaurant called Tropalicious. And I was selling smoothies inside Valley's Health Club on 410 and Bandera back in the days. And then from there, I went ahead and bought my first little camera through a gentleman that was selling his whole camera equipment back in the days, 40 years ago. And he needed some money because, you know, his brother had cancer and he was trying to help the brother. And I remember that my brother said, "Sister, you should buy that camera." And I said, "What in the mighty earth am I going to do with the camera?" Yeah. So I said, "Well, I guess I can," you know, he needed the money, I could buy the camera. And so I became a photographer. He's the one that I worked out a deal with him. And I said, "Look, I'll buy all your equipment, including the lights and everything, but you got to teach me how to use this camera." So I want you to know that that gentleman, Carlitos, sold me his camera equipment, and I became a photographer, and I started my second business as a photographer, and I used to take care of all the beautiful queens to be, like Miss San Antonio, Miss Teen San Antonio. So I got involved with the fashion, the photography. So one thing led to another, and that's how I got involved in the beauty queen industry.
Now, were you a beauty queen prior to moving here? Have you ever been in pageants?
Yes, I want you to know that they were looking back in 1996 when the NAFTA happened between the U.S. and Canada. They were looking for someone to represent Mexico. So they were looking for somebody from Mexico. And so I had all the qualifications because I was born in Puebla, Mexico. So I am 100% Mexican. And of course, they needed to see my passport just to make sure that they proved the citizen and all the protocol. And there was 60 beautiful women that entered that beauty pageant. And to be honest with you, I didn't think that I was going to be involved in that pageant. But my ex-husband, Dr. Suggs, says, "You should enter that pageant because I could see you as a queen." And I said, okay. So I went ahead and I entered it. And next thing you know, I won the beautiful crown as Mrs. Mexico International, representing my country within the States. And it was probably the best year of my life because that really put me in the map. And that's when I really discovered the beauty about San Antonio and what San Antonio had to give every year with the most precious, valuable season of the year, which is fiesta. Because we did not know what fiesta was. Until I was Miss Mexico, I was like in every single event you can think of fiesta and Cinco de Mayo. And, us Latinos, we're always looking for a reason to celebrate.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I became Mrs. Mexico International. And, of course, 10 years later, I had the opportunity to enter to represent San Antonio. And I won the title as Mrs. San Antonio for San Antonio, Texas. So that has been an honor also because that was probably another one of my best years. And then at the time, I went ahead and got involved with, opening the first franchise of Las Palapas right there at Leon Springs. So I started the first franchise of Las Palapas. Thank you to Mr. Ron Acosta, the owner and the founder of the name and the recipe that moved up here with a dream. He moved up here with a goal, a dream, and his recipe, which is a Tex-Mex recipe. And so I went up to him and I said, I would like to be the first franchise owner. And he didn't even know who I was or what was I talking about. And he goes, "What are you talking about? And who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm a guardian angel."
Now there's lots of those restaurants
Yes,
around
there's
now.
close to 30 Las Palapas today.
Okay.
And that was thanks to someone believing in me.
Right.
So that's wonderful when people can look up to you, like at me.
Yeah.
I looked at you, who you were. I looked at your podcast. I looked at the people that you have interviewed. And I said, it would be such an honor to come here and just be interviewed by a gentleman that has done so much, that has accomplished so much, because you are a great leader.
You're making me blush.
Well, you should be blushing. You're being interviewed by a Latino
I'm
Eskimo.
absolutely a little tongue twisted. So you use the word bonita, which you are, in your fashion, your production. What brought that about? And because it could be, you could use any form.
That's right. That's right. The reason why we decided with the name Bonita, it was because I had a business plan. I always have a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, and if you own Bentley, and if you do not know how to drive and you do not know what direction to take, you ain't going to get anywhere. So I always have a plan for everything I do. So when we named the company Bonita, I wanted it to be an extension invitation for all the beautiful women around the world so that they could go ahead and brand themselves and they can say Bonita by Lisa, Bonita by Rosa, Bonita by Lorena, Bonita by, and always give somebody the opportunity to brand themselves.
Okay, so is Bonita like a fashion franchise, or you're just saying that each...
It's just the name and it's
and
an invitation for whoever wants to make a little bit of money. For an example, I have my own line of cosmetics. And so when I go out, I buy anywhere between $10,000, $25,000 with cosmetics. And then I extend the opportunity for those beautiful ladies to come in and buy 100, 300, whatever they could afford to go out there. And I sell it to them at 50% off. That way they can go ahead and make 50% profit. And of course, I teach them how to do the makeup, how to sell the makeup. I mean, the little workshop comes right behind the whole branding of Bonita. So Bonita is a beautiful name that really has already been established here in San Antonio for 40 years. And that's something that I have always done as a business, but it always has been a wonderful hobby that I've done that it has really been blessed, and I have been able to bless many people around me. So I got to tell you something about Mr. Monroe. So Mr. Monroe decided that he wanted to give me a production company, thanks to my wonderful friend Nelson. And he's the one that kind of came and talked all about equipment and all the wonderful things. And my husband says, I think I want to give you a production company. And I want you to know that I wanted him to say, okay, all right, you can give me a production company. And I wanted to name the production company something upon what he collects, because David Monroe happens to be one of the biggest collectors you will ever meet. I mean, he collects so many exotic, beautiful things, just like Nelson does, our friend Nelson. You walk in here, and this is such a beautiful place here that he has, because he's so passionate about everything that has to do with comics, and I value this because I know how he thinks. They think out of the box, and I love that. Well, that's David Monroe for you. He thinks out of the box. So when he was putting the production company together for me, I wanted him to name it something upon his collection, like Picasso, or name it something exotic, because, there's so many exotic artistic names out there. And he decided to name it Bonita Productions. It's actually registered under Bonita Ventures, LLC. And he goes, here is your company, and we named it under Bonita. I was like, no, I did not want it Bonita, I wanted something else. And he says, no, Bonita it is, because Bonita is a blessed name. And you know what? I'm so happy that we decided to go with Bonita Ventures, DBA, doing business as Bonita Productions, because it is a very blessed company. And thanks to that, that's how we engaged what I'm doing moving forward. But the whole key here is all about basic information to help everyone, help them understand how they could always, make their dreams a reality. You start basic, you start with something just simple, and then you just blossom from there. So that's exactly how we started with Bonita Productions.
And you're blossoming. You went from pageants to restaurants to makeup and acting and producing and directing,
and don't forget, Mr. Chip, I also built 9 beautiful homes at the Vistas of Santera. So I have built a total of 12 beautiful homes. So after I sold Las Palapas, I was not going to sell Las Palapas, but you know what, Mr. Chip, there's always that opportunity that you have, that little one window where you could either sell or don't sell and just hang on there for the long drive. I decided to sell. And when I sold Las Palapas, I went ahead and I invested at the Vistas of Santera. I had an opportunity to buy 9 beautiful lots, and I went ahead and I built 9 beautiful homes plus 2 of my personal homes. So I've been in the construction business also.
Wow.
Yes.
You are a very multi-talented.
Yes, along with two wonderful builders, and that was Mr. Moses Hernandez. He was a wonderful, very well-established builder that really walked me through, because you have to be a builder in order for you to build. But I was right behind the whole project, 100% of the construction and building the homes.
So where do you see your future? And are you looking more front of camera, more philanthropic? What do we see the future? Your future? Where do you see?
Well, I always like to see what is needed. Okay, for an example, in today's generation, there's so much need of everything: front of camera, behind of camera, because you got to know how to run the cameras. You got to know how to edit. You got to know how to record. You got to know how to direct. You got to have a plan. Everything starts with a plan. My whole life has always been a plan. But behind camera and also in front of the camera. So I just want you to know that for the past 5 years, and thank you to my friend Nelson, because he's the one that, took us to the newest, latest technology with all of the TriCasters that he has been able to put together along with other companies. He has been able to design something magical. And so I saw his drive, I saw his passion of where he wanted to go with this. And today, really, the people that understand technology moving forward, they're using TriCasters, which they're fabulous, because my entire company is surrounded by TriCasters. So I want you to know that for the past 5 years, I have been learning behind the TriCasters. I have been learning putting it together. I have been, marketing myself. I have been directing myself. I have been recording myself, and I have been editing myself, because as you know, editing can make you or break you.
Absolutely. And I admire you because I don't edit. I can very slowly and very full of foul language because it frustrates me. But I admire you for doing that, because it is an art. And people always say to me, well, you going to edit? No, I'm not going to edit it. I hire people. I don't shoot it. I hire a shooter. I don't edit. I hire an editor. I know my lane. And I admire people that step back and say, well, I'm going to learn to do that. I'm going to learn to do that. And you sound like you learn to do everything.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that, because I want you to know that many people ask me, why is it that you're so successful? And let me tell you how I answer. In order for you to be successful at anything you do, you got to do it yourself. It's okay to pay. It's okay to hire, because everybody's looking for an opportunity. But there's never the best way to be successful except you understanding what you're doing. And I've learned that through putting the franchise of Las Palapas together. I had to walk in there and I had to learn the recipe of every single plate that we sell at Las Palapas. Right. And Mr. Ron Acosta looked at me and says, no. You don't work the kitchen. You hire someone to work the kitchen. And I said, no, I want you to put me in your busiest restaurant, and I want you to put me in your most successful restaurant. And that was Las Palapas on the corner of Callahan and I-10. Mm-hmm. I want you to know that I went and I worked there for a whole year, and I told Mr. Acosta, I don't want anyone to know who I am. I want to be just a regular employee, and I walked in there as the dishwasher.
Undercover boss.
Undercover boss is correct. And I want you to know that the reason why today there are close to 30 palapas is because we got it down to the point, just like you do in any other franchise, like a McDonald's, like a Whataburger, like all those. Why do you think franchises are where they are today? Because they are definitely a platform that the only thing you need to do when you invest is you are buying already a working platform. And that's exactly what we created with Las Palapas. And that's where I've learned. And I said, I need to learn everything behind the cameras in order for me to hire someone, because when I hire someone, I already know exactly what I want done in order to be successful. So today, I want you to know that now I get to play in front of the cameras. And I do want to cordially invite everyone to visit my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com and then loop Bonita Productions, and I have close to 300 shows.
Wow.
And if you scroll down on YouTube, you will see my editing better and better and better and better at every show that I upload in my YouTube. So I'm proud to say that my YouTube is very successful. I've done close to 300 shows that I could literally today say I recorded them, I edited them, I directed them. I'm in front of the camera, and I'm also behind the camera because I edit every single show there. I don't hire somebody to edit.
Okay, and now you also do San Antonio Magazine?
Yes, I do. I have been involved with the San Antonio Monthly Magazine, our #1 contemporary magazine in the state of Texas. I got involved with them probably about 15, 18 years ago because I was doing advertising with them. So then I became, a writer for them. And then, of course, I became, very involved in engaging with the magazine as the pandemic hit us. When the pandemic hit us was when I called the owner, DM Rodriguez, the owner of San Antonio Monthly Magazine, and I said, well, I'm no longer going to be paying you monthly because, we're shut down. And I mean, who am I going to sell a dress to and where they're going to, right? And that's when he says, no, Lorena, please don't. I need you more than ever now. And, and I said, well, let me think about this. So I prayed about it, Mr. Chip, and then I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and start San Antonio Monthly Magazine TV and bring all of his actual advertising clients live through a video, since I was in the production company. And that's where I've learned to be in front of the camera, because do you know that a lot of the customers that would walk in, they don't want to be in front of the camera.
Right.
Like doctors, nurses, book writers, they don't want to be in front of the camera. They'll write a book all day long, but they don't want to be in front of the camera. It's very rare someone that you find that's got the confidence like you do. You're very confident with being, in front of the camera. And so it takes people that are confident, but a lot of people are not that way. Doctors pay me to be in front of the camera. So that's why I became an actress. Yeah. Because I had to play different roles depending on what the story I was covering through the production.
Right. So the magazine now does television. You have production. You have makeup. What's next with... And I know that David and you guys are involved in the museum and SAMSACs. What's next for you guys as a couple?
Well, as a couple, the limit is the sky. And let me tell you why. Because Mr. Monroe, every day that he comes home with a dream getting ready to become a reality. Why? Because when we first stepped into Techport San Antonio, it was Port San Antonio. And when we decided to initiate in Techport San Antonio, open the doors for Mr. and Mrs. Monroe, they went ahead and did a blessing to the entire city of San Antonio. And that's why the city of San Antonio is on the map worldwide. Why? Because Mr. Monroe has done a fantastic job with putting SAMSAT together, our beautiful Museum of Science and Technology. So what is next for us as a couple? Well, we got wonderful sponsors that not only see David's vision, but believe in David's commitment. And they all know that behind a successful man should always be a successful woman. But I want you to know that I never, ever like to take the spotlight from Mr. Monroe, because Mr. Monroe is the light of science and technology. He is the light of everything that he does at SAMSAT. I stay in his shadow and just watch what he does. But believe me, the best way that I always like to introduce myself to the world is I am just the cleaning lady. Bottom line. Do you like that?
I like that. All right, so we're running out of time. My last question is, what question did I not ask you that you wish I would have asked you?
Well, you have not asked me what is it that I dislike during my entire success.
What is it you dislike about your entire success?
What I most dislike through my whole entire life and moving forward, so maybe we can make a difference through this podcast, is I dislike people with excuses. I mean, if you want to get under my skin, just give me an excuse why not to get it done today.
Okay.
Okay? I dislike people that live on a dream and they stay on dreaming. I love being with dreamers that make a dream a reality, because there's two kinds of dreamers. The ones that make the dream a reality and the ones that sit there and just keep on dreaming. Lorena Monroe is the woman that makes a dream a reality. And I want to cordially invite everyone to please click on San Antonio Monthly Magazine on Facebook and on Instagram, because I am going to be on the next cover telling you the story about where my vision is going through the production company, through my own movie, which is a fabulous movie with my co-host, Mr. Andrew Cortez. He's a fabulous actor. He plays my personal bodyguard in the movie. So we are putting this movie based on a television show that I had in 2006, 2007. We are putting it on the big picture, and this movie is dedicated to all the beautiful women around the world, and the title is I Did It, You Can Do It.
We will be looking for that. And I'll be looking for my cover, by the way.
I'll put you on the cover with me.
Hey, I'll take it. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We try to keep these at about 30 minutes, and we don't take up too much of your time and our listeners' time. And this has been fabulous. You are stunning. You are bonita. And I love finding out about David, because I don't know a lot about him. And
David is the best man anybody could ever meet. And I can tell you 3 things about Mr. Monroe. 1, he's a man of his word. 2, he's a man that leads by example. And 3, he's a man that keeps on giving joy to the world. So you can Google David Monroe, Lorena Monroe, and you can always go to samsat.org, or you could always go to bonitaproductions.com, Instagram, Bonita Productions USA.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time today. And I'm sure our audience is enjoying as much as I have. And we'll be seeing you definitely around San Antonio.
Gracias, señor White.
Gracias. Muy bien.
Muy bien. Hasta la vista.
I want to thank Lorena for being on today. I want to thank you, the viewer, for watching, for listening. I'm truly humbled and grateful that you spend your time with us. I hope that you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. I want to thank our sponsor, visitmyrtlebeach.com. If you're looking for the perfect family vacation, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com. If you happen to have an autistic child or a sensory sensitive child or an adult, and you find traveling a little difficult, go to visitmyrtlebeach.com and check out the link to Traveling the Spectrum, which is streaming on Peacock, and learn more about visiting Myrtle Beach with an autistic or sensory sensitive traveler. I want to thank Nelco Media, and I want to thank Nelco Comics for our great comic book location. And again, I really want to thank you, the viewer and the listener. If you happen to be related to someone famous or know someone related to someone famous that would make an awesome guest, reach out to me at podcastrelativelyfamous@gmail.com. That's podcastrelativelyfamous@gmail.com. And again, like, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell all your family, and go check out some of the back episodes. Thank you.
You've been listening to Relatively Famous with Chip White. Please like and subscribe to Relatively Famous with Chip White.